The Sukhoi Su-34 is a Russian twin-seat fighter bomber. It is intended to replace the Sukhoi Su-24. Based on the Su-27 flanker, it is intended for high-precision strikes, including strikes with nuclear weapons, on land and sea targets at any time of day. Development, origins and testing. The Su-34 had a muddled and protracted beginning. In the mid-1980s, Sukhoi began developing a new multi-role tactical aircraft to replace the swing-wing Su-24, which would incorporate a host of conflicting requirements. The Bureau thus selected the Su-27, which excelled in maneuverability and range, and could carry a large payload, as the basis for the new fighter. More specifically, the aircraft was developed from T-10KM2, the naval trainer derivative of the Sukhoi Su-27K. The development, known internally as T-10V, was shelved at the end of the 1980s, sharing the fate of new aircraft carriers. This was the result of the political upheaval in the Soviet Union and its subsequent disintegration. In August 1990, a photograph taken by a TASS officer showed an aircraft making a dummy approach towards Tbilisi carrier. The aircraft, subsequently and erroneously labeled Su-27Ku by Western intelligence, made its maiden flight on August 13, 1990 with Anatoly Ivanov at the controls. Converted from an Su-27UB with the new distinctive nose, while retaining the main undercarriage of previous Su-27s, it was a prototype for the Su-27IB. It was developed in parallel with the two-seat naval trainer, the Su-27KUB, although, contrary to earlier reports, the two aircraft are not directly related. Flight tests continued throughout 1990 and into 1991. In 1992, the Su-27IB was displayed to the public at the MOS Aerosho, where it demonstrated aerial refueling with an Il-78, and performed an aerobatic display. The aircraft was officially unveiled on February 13, 1992 at Mishulishi, where Russian President Boris Yeltsin and the CIS leaders were holding a summit. The following year the Su-27IB was again displayed at the MAKS Air Show. The next prototype, and first pre-production aircraft, T-10V2, first flew on December 18, 1993 at the controls of Igor Votintsev and Yevgeny Revunov. Built at Novosibirsk, where Su-24s were constructed, this aircraft was visibly different from the original prototype. It had modified vertical stabilizers, twin tandem main undercarriage and a longer sting, which houses a rearward-facing warning radar. The first aircraft built to production standard made its first flight on December 28, 1994. It was fitted with a fire control system, at the heart of which was the Leninets OKB design V004 passive electronically scan array radar. It was different enough from the earlier versions that it was redesignated the Su-34. However, at the 1995 Paris Air Show, the Su-34 was allocated the Su-32FN designation, signaling the aircraft's potential role as a shore-based naval aircraft. Sukhoi also promoted the Su-34 as the Su-32MF. The final stage of the state tests completed on September 19, 2011. Entered service in early 2014. Production. Initially only a handful of pre-production models were built. Only in March 2006, Russia's Minister of Defense Sergei Ivanov announced that the government had purchased the first pair of Su-34s for delivery in 2006. A total of 200 aircraft were to be purchased by 2015 to replace some 300 Russian Su-24s, which were at the time going through a modernization program. Ivanov claimed that because the aircraft is many times more effective on all critical parameters, the Russian Air Force will need far fewer of these newer bombers than the old Su-24 it replaces. In December 2006, Ivanov revealed that approximately 200 Su-34s were expected to be in service by 2020. This was confirmed by Air Force Chief Vladimir Mikhailov on March 6, 2007. 2 Su-34s were delivered in 2006 to 2007, and 3 more were delivered by the end of 2009. On January 9, 2008, Sukhoi reported that the Su-34 has begun full-rate production. At this time Russia planned to have 24 Su-34s operational by late 2010. The Russian Air Force received another 4 Su-34s on December 28, 2010, and expects to receive 70 Su-34s by 2015. A Russian military source announced in September 2011 that Air Force had finished pre-deployment tests of Su-34. Combat units first received 6 Su-34s in 2011. Delivery came in the form of 2 contracts, the first in 2008 for 32 aircraft and the second in 2012 for a further 92 aircraft, totaling 124 to be delivered by 2020. In December 2012 it was reported that Sukhoi delivered 5 aircraft. In January 2013 Sukhoi delivered another batch of 5 Su-34 strike aircraft. They flew from the Novosibirsk aircraft plant to an airbase in Voronezh, Russia. On May 6, 2013 the first Sukhoi Su-34s under defense procurement plans in 2013 was delivered to the Air Force. On July 9, 2013, 3 more Su-34s were delivered to the Russian Air Force, with the official acceptance ceremony taking place directly at the Novosibirsk aircraft plant. The appearance of the 3 Su-34s in the new Russian Air Force camouflage, a black top, blue bottom, and white nose, suggests that the livery is official and will be kept. As of the end of 2013, Sukhoi completed 2008 contract and started deliveries on 2012 contract. In August 2013 Sukhoi signed a contract with the Kazan-based Radioproba holding company for 184 friend or foe transponders for the Su-34. The transponders are due to be delivered by 2020. On June 10, 2014, Russia 1 TV reported a further delivery of Su-34s was made to the 559th Regiment at Morozovsk. Design: the aircraft shares most of its wing structure, tail, and engine nacelles with the Su-27/Su-30, with canards like the Su-30 MKI Su-27M/35 to increase static instability and to reduce trim drag. The aircraft has an entirely new nose and forward fuselage with the cockpit providing side-by-side seating for a crew of 2. The Su-34 is powered by the AL-31 Fathoms 1, the same engines with the Su-27SM, but its maximum speed is lower at Mach 1.8+ when fully loaded. The Su-34 has a 3-surface planform, with a conventional horizontal tail at the rear and a pair of canard foreplanes in front of the wings for extra lift and more maneuvering power. The Su-34 has 12 hardpoints for up to 12,000 kilograms of ordnance, intended to include the latest Russian precision-guided weapons. It retains the Su-27/Su-30's 30-ohm GSH-30-1 cannon. The Su-34's most distinctive feature is the unusually large flight deck. Much of the design work went into crew comfort. The 2 crew members sit side by side in a large cabin, with the pilot commander to the left and navigator operator of weapons to the right in NPP's Vizda K36 decimeters ejection seats. An advantage of the side-by-side cockpit is that duplicate instruments are not required for each pilot. Since long missions require comfort, the pressurization system allows operation up to 10,000 meters without oxygen masks, which are available for emergencies and combat situations. The crew members have room to stand and move about the cabin during long missions. The space between the seats allows them to lie down in the corridor, if necessary. A toilet and a galley are located behind the crew seats. Operational history: the Su-34's long range was shown in a July 2010 exercise when Su-34s and Su-24 milliseconds were moved from Russian bases in Europe to one on the Pacific coast, 6,000 kilometers away, which requires in-flight refueling. The Su-24 milliseconds were refueled 3 times, while the Su-34 was refueled twice. Su-34 was rumored to have been utilized by Russian command during the 2008 South Ossetia War. Operators: Russian Air Force a Euro-45 aircraft plus 8 prototypes, Lipetsk Air Base, 1, Voronezh Malyshevo Air Base, 24, Morozovsk Air Base, 15, Okhtubinsk Air Base, 6. Specifications, data from Sukhoi Data, Gordon and Davison, AF Technology, Air Rear General Characteristics, Crew, 2, Length, 23.34 meters, Wingspan, 14.7 m, Height, 6.09 m, wing area, 62.04 mass squared, empty weight, 22,500 kilograms, loaded weight, 39,000 kilograms, useful load, 12,000 kilograms, max takeoff weight, 45,100 kilograms, power plant, TUA, 13,500 kilogram forces after burning thrust Lyocl 31 fathoms 1 turbofans, internal fuel, 12,100 kilograms, performance, maximum speed, high altitude, Mach 1.8 plus, low altitude, Mach 1.2 at sea level. Cruise speed, unknown, range, 1,100 kilometers at low level altitude, combat radius, 1,000 plus km, ferry range, 4,000 kilometers, service ceiling, 15,000 m, rate of climb, unknown, thrust weight, 0.68, armament, guns, 1 30mm GSH-30-1 cannon, 150 rounds, hardpoints, 12 wing and fuselage stations with a capacity of 12,000 GA and provisions to carry combinations of rockets S-8, S-13, S-25 rocket pods. Missiles, R-27 air-to-air missile, R-73 air-to-air missile, R-77 air-to-air missile, KH-29 liters per ton air-to-ground missile, KH-38 new generation air-to-ground missile with a range of 40 kilometers, KH-25 MTMP air-to-ground missile or anti-radiation missile, KH-59M air-to-ground missile, KH-58 anti-radiation missile, KH-31 anti-radiation or anti-ship missile, KH-35 anti-ship missile, KH-65 SE or KH-SD cruise missile, KH-41 or Yakhont anti-ship missile. Bombs, KAB-500L or KAB-500KR or KAB-1500LKR guided bombs, OFAB-250-270, OFAB-100-120, FAB-500T, BETAB-500 St. Helena pounds, P-50T, ODAB-500 PM unguided bombs, RBK-500 and SPBED cluster bombs, nuclear bombs. Other, 3,000 liters PTB 3,000 suspended fuel tanks, EW and reconnaissance pods. See also. Related development, Sukhoi Su-30, Sukhoi Su-33, Sukhoi Su-35, comparable aircraft, McDonnell Douglas F-15E Strike Eagle, Panavia Tornado. References, notes. Bibliography. External links. Official Sukhoi Su-32 webpage, Russian Su-34 webpage, Su-34 page on Malavia.net, Su-34 on Air Force Technology, Su-34 page on aerospaceorg.org, Su-34 30 seconds FN long-range fighter bomber, Su-34 Fullback on globalaircraft.org, Sukhoi Su-34 Fullback, Russia's new heavy strike fighter. Russia gets first new fighters for 15 years as Sukhoi Su-34 debuts January 4, 2007, Flight Global. Russian Air Force to adopt Su-34 flying tank. Infographics, Su-34/Su-32 FN bomber family.